All right, well, welcome everyone to the next alumni rebound session. Today we're here with Alison Reyes. And Alison, we're going to just learn a little bit more about your path since JMU. So if you're ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and get started.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. My name's Alison Reyes. I am currently an account manager at Silverback Strategies, a digital agency in Northern Virginia, and I graduated JMU in 2019 with a marketing major and a minor in communication studies. During my time at JMU, I worked with the JMU Orientation Office, JMU College of Business Office, and was involved with Rotaract and the Digital Marketing Honor Society, DMS.
So you were bored all the time based on all that.
Oh, definitely. I'm definitely someone that can't do. Yeah, I love to have things to do at school, and I think that definitely reflects my post-grad life where I was that rare person that actually enjoyed an 8 a.m. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'd rather be in an 8 a.m. than a 7 o'clock at class.
Yeah. Well, and I also think it probably got your day started and made you get moving. And then you
Definitely.
the day. Yeah.
Which works out because I knew the career I was going to have, it wasn't going to start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It starts at 8:39, so might as well get started.
Yeah. So let's go back to graduation.
hmm
So if you can think back to graduation day, you had a very different graduation than what we all, normally expected, but that might be similar to what this year's graduates have.
hmm
And we're focusing this on our soon to be graduates. So can you just talk about sort of what up to graduation day, like the week before, were you home? Were you here? Where were you? And sort of how did you feel? What were you thinking? Just talk through sort of graduation as a thing.
Right. Actually, for 2019, I graduated in May, so I was actually
Oh,
able to walk.
wait, you're the last group that did.
Yes, so I feel extremely grateful that I was able to walk, but reflecting on that day, I don't remember walking across the stage and getting a diploma being the highest point of the day. It was definitely being surrounded by loved ones and that nostalgic feeling that you're chatting with your friends and your family of just how much you've grown, and you're just a really appreciative of everyone that was with you on this path. And I really sympathize with those who do feel that like walking across the stage is something that they're getting robbed of, which I totally understand that. Why would they feel that way? But at the end of the day, I remember the loved ones that I was surrounded by and just feeling grateful. It wasn't about those like 10, 15 steps I took across the stage.
Okay. So then let's go to your senior year then.
hmm
When did you get a job? What was the job search process like? How did you sort of manage that whole, figuring out what you're going to do after graduation?
Definitely. The spring of my senior year was probably the most stressful I have ever been because people are getting jobs left and right. And I was able to land a job before graduation, probably mid April. So, really cutting it close. And I actually didn't stay at that job. I was there for about 3 months. And there was a job that I fell in complete love with through JMU's digital marketing program because the company visited our digital marketing practicum. And I knew I wanted to work for them, but they just didn't have any positions right away. So, I definitely felt discouraged by that. But back in the fall of 2019, of September, they actually had open positions and I jumped on it and I've been working there ever since. So while I didn't get necessarily a job right away, I definitely felt that grateful that I got the job before graduation, and I felt that stress, especially for college of business majors. You'll see like your finance friends, they have jobs set up like their junior year. So it's easy to feel behind and feel stressed out. But I was extremely grateful that I was able to get one. And it really was a lot due to JMU's connections and that networking that I had that really presented that opportunity.
So there's a lot there. We're going to dig into that a little bit. So you had a job and you started the job and you worked there 3 months.
I did. So it was a marketing associate position, very generic in DC. And I had kept connections with the company I currently work for, Silverback Strategies. And I developed a relationship due to JMU's connections. And when they reached back out after I saw that they had the positions open, they went through the hiring process. And I've been there since September of 2019. Um, I think a lot of it too was just taking that leap, knowing I still wanted to work for them, and it was something that was really important to me, and I took that risk. I was definitely afraid of leaving a position that I had only been for a few months, but I knew what I wanted and I was able to been there.
So that's an important thing because I think we students get a lot of different advice about how long you need to stay in your job and all that, and you jumped pretty quick. So can you talk about go into that a little bit more? Like, what was that like leaving? How did you handle telling them you were leaving? All that.
Right. So definitely there was about a 90-day review process. So I was able to get the information that I was leaving before then. So it wasn't in terms of, oh, they expected me to be there forever. It was sort of a trial period. And I communicated that to them timely enough. But I think the decision was based off of knowing the core values for the business that I currently work for, and knowing that it aligned with what I wanted. And while I learned a lot from that first job, and it probably was the reason I landed the current job that I have now, because I did gain knowledge from there, I took that chance because it was that important to me. And I knew there were other JMU alumni who actually currently work at the company that had said great things. And while it was a risk, I definitely think it was one worth taking.
Okay. So then let's keep digging a little bit. So this new job comes up. It's where you really want to work.
Hmm.
You go through that process. At what point did you tell your current employer that you were? Did they know you were looking? Did they have any idea, or did you only tell them after you actually had the other job?
Yeah, to be completely transparent, I told him after I had gotten the job. It was just something that I knew that I wanted to just interview for and honestly learn about it too, because when you're in an interview, it's a two-way street. You're learning about the company just as much as they're learning about you. So I think that's really important for people going into interviews to know as well, because oftentimes you feel like you have to go into it and be this perfect person and say, oh, I have everything that you want. Please hire me, when in the end of the day, they're not looking for someone that knows everything. They're looking for someone who's moldable, teachable, and fits in their culture. Um, One of my favorite quotes is never be know it all, be a learn it all, because when you approach someone in an interview saying, I'm teachable, I'm moldable, I am someone that has your core values, that's someone they can work with long term and readjust kind of what you're doing rather than, I know everything I need to know and I'm not going to work well with others.
Yeah. So, and then I have two other questions on this. So, because I think what you just touched on is so important. Was there a difference monetarily between the two jobs?
There was, but I wouldn't say it was a really a drastic monetary difference. I really want to say that the culture and the core values was what I wanted. And while this current job that I got out of college was great, I definitely feel like I jumped on it because I felt that I needed to get that job right away. And I needed to be a college graduate with a degree and a job lined up exactly at the same time when that just isn't the case. Luckily, I was able to get that, and I am still grateful for that experience because it taught me to fight for what I wanted and to take risks, and it really paid off.
And Allison, it's a huge thing that you just said that I want to just spend a couple seconds on, and that it wasn't about the money. And
Right.
my dad always says, if you're only doing it for the money, you're only happy on payday. And I've always really believed that. And I think that what you've just said, I hope students hear and understand is that it's about the culture. It's about what you want to do. It's about it growing you and you growing the place
Hmm.
together versus I know so many people who've left jobs they loved for jobs that paid more and then wanted to
Hmm.
come back.
I mean, that quote is, what is it? If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yep.
And I am that cheesy person that is completely in love with what she does. And I look back on that decision and I can't imagine not making that choice for myself because I genuinely go to work loving who I work with and the clients that I serve and how much I've gained in knowledge this past year and a half. And it's important because in the end of the day, you're not going to be focusing on the money every single day, like you said. It's payday, that's all day. That's going to be important for them. But if you're 9 to 5, not enjoying what you're doing, it's going to be hard to sit through each day.
Yeah, agreed. And I live that same quote about if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I feel that lucky right now in my current job that this rarely ever feels like a job. It feels like I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly. I definitely feel grateful too, especially with everything going on in the world, that I'm still able to do what I love to do, and it hasn't changed drastically since a lot of what I'm doing is online and at home. So extremely grateful for that. And I know that's not the case for everyone, but um, I think it's important to still find happiness and joy in what you're doing.
Yeah. So let's talk about some life logistics next.
Okay.
So you graduated, had a job, your family lives in Reston.
hmm
Uh, did you get your own place immediately? Did you live with family for, how did the whole where did you live thing work out?
I got my place immediately, just because I knew that I wanted to be on my own and I wanted that experience. I'm sure a lot of people who live in Arlington know about the good old Facebook groups where you can meet people who are in the same um, situation as you, very similar to the JMU roommate Facebook page, but it definitely was a good decision, I think. And you learn a lot when you live on your own and outside of the college world versus in dorms. I mean, when you're in dorms, a lot of people around you, as well as in like on campus housing, they're in the same situation. You're around people the same age. So finding an apartment is a lot different in terms of post grad.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so let's talk, I'm not going to ask you what you make or anything, but let's talk about
Okay.
uh, how do you manage money? How do you, do you have a budget? Like, how do you manage money day to day, week to week, month to month, pay your rent? Do you have a car? Do
Yep.
you have a car? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So budget is extremely important. I could not stress that enough. Um, Especially since I don't have that meal plan anymore where I can go through punches and budget out. Food is really important, especially right now with the pandemic too. I feel like the budget has shortened in terms of what I spend on, um, which of course is more focused on food, rent. I do have a car, so we pay for parking here, utilities. There are several different factors where you go into it, and a lot of it is researching before you move to a new place what they charge you for, how payment works. I have roommates, how we split up the Wi Fi, just really being organized and communicative of what you're spending with the people that you live with.
And then did you find, like, what was it like to, I mean, not that you weren't independent some in college, but how did you figure out, like, wow, that costs this much? And, when you figure out really buying,
Living in Arlington is not the cheapest. I do miss college rent. But I definitely think it was just a lot of research. I was surprised for sure by how much things cost when you get out in the real world, but it is something where you learn along the way what works best for you and how you budget yourself. Everyone's different. I'm on Excel spreadsheets and that's how I just read things, but some people like to use different apps or just monitorizing the way you spend money directly on like your banking app. And I think it really is helpful to be completely transparent and honest with yourself by how much you're spending because you can't lie to yourself or your bank account.
yeah. And have there been things that you've had to not buy or spend money on anymore that you wanted to? Like, what have you had to make some hard choices about what you buy and what you don't buy?
I definitely don't buy too much. A lot of it is pandemic effective since I'm not going out of my apartment as much, so I don't have to buy all new outfits, or I'm spending most of my days honestly in like comfortable clothes working behind the computer. But there are definitely sacrifices. If you want to travel somewhere, I'm not going to spend my money on this really fancy hotel or this Airbnb. So it's just about knowing what's important to you and prioritizing those values.
Okay. So let's go to maybe lessons learned, mistakes, regrets. You're almost 2 years out now.
Oh my goodness.
I know, sorry. But are there things that you're like, wow, I really did make a good choice there, or I regret making that decision, or wow, I learned so much? Again, we want to prepare our soon to be graduates for life
Mhm.
after. So I'm just wondering, what are those things maybe you wish you had known? However you hear that question.
Yeah, I definitely think a couple of things. One is the schedule and the decisions that you make, kind of going back to what we talked about before, you're a lot more independent after college. While I know you do get to choose your major, but there's also sets for curriculum, what classes you can take, kind of what path that follows. It's still somewhat structured, what classes are available, your time of day. Well, when after I graduated, my day is completely up to me. While I have the job, they're not going to be saying, oh, you're going to work from these amount of hours on this, and then here's the homework you're going to have and finish this by this date. So staying organized and setting up the schedule based on what you want is something that I found that I really enjoy. I get a lot more sleep now, especially since I don't have a lot of papers and tests to do so late at or study for late at night. So that's something that I really enjoy and students can look forward to. Um, but then also, I think senior year, when you're in the spring semester, especially, everything feels so large. Everything, every test that you take, every final, every interview, it feels like it's the end of the world sometimes because it's just make or break. And I wish I could tell myself it's going to be okay and that every test or every exam, every paper that you're writing, it's not the biggest thing in the world. And I feel like everyone's been there in the library where you're stressing out and you feel like in this moment, this is the biggest thing in your life. But when you're post grad, you really reflect and think, wow, that was so much bigger in my head than it really was.
Interesting. One of the things I just took away in my own words that you just said is that life doesn't have a syllabus.
Hmm.
You know, there's no, even in your job, it's not like they tell you, here's what the next 6 months is going to look like.
Exactly.
And here's when you're going to have to take things home and all that kind of stuff. That's great.
And
Uh,
then going back to that story about how I took that jump to that new job, that's exactly kind of where that comes from. If you want to change and if you want to do something different, that's up to you. No one's going to do that for you.
yeah, true. Like no one's checking up on you. No one's making sure that you're getting what you want out of life. It's really on you.
Exactly. There's no 18th grade, I guess, 17th grade, whatever I would be in by now.
Okay. Let's talk about friends, JMU friends. Like, how have you stayed in touch with people from JMU? How does that look as, as a graduate? One of the things I hear all the time from students is, like you said earlier, it's harder. You're not living in the same building or the
Hmm.
right down the street from each other. You actually have to have these things we call plans. So can you talk about sort of how you've stayed in touch with JMU people, and then B, how you've made new friends outside of JMU?
Yeah, definitely. I have kept a lot of my friends from JMU. I think with the pandemic, people have valued more in reaching out. So that's something unique these past, I would say, year has been. And staying in touch with group chats and just keeping each other in check with updates in your life, like if it's a new job or you got into a certain grad program, just really celebrating that with the people that you love. And while it's not an everyday occurrence like it used to be, it still means something with the genuine friends that you have that you stay in touch with because you don't have to see them every day to be good friends with them. You could talk to them once every few weeks, and if they're really good friend, then it'll still be the same. And then in terms of making new friends, it's definitely different. You're surrounded by people that are going through such different things in your life. I feel like after school, a lot of the friends that I had that were in the same major or just kind of people that I spent my most time with, we're all doing completely different things. Some people are in grad school, some people are working, some people are engaged or married. And it's crazy to think how different people's paths can go. And I think that's something that surprised me. But in the end of the day, staying in touch with the people that you love is really important.
Yeah, I agree. But also challenging sometimes, right?
Exactly. It definitely is challenging, and yeah, I have lost a few friends here and there because I'm not seeing them every day. But focusing on the friends that you can keep, and then meeting new people is always how you get through it.
Yeah, great. So let's go to sort of health and wellness kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Again, you mentioned you don't have punches anymore. You don't have anymore. If you like UREC, I don't know, but um,
Yes, I miss you, Rick.
yeah. So talk about health and well-being, eating, exercising. How has that worked in? Is that part of your life? How do you do that?
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm a morning workout person. There is a gym in my apartment complex, and right now they're open with obviously COVID precautions. And I've been able to do that in the morning before I work. And it's something that I had to craft in my schedule myself. I'm responsible for getting up and going to the gym and eating healthy. In Arlington, there are definitely a lot of food options, and learning how to cook and cooking for yourself especially during like your lunch breaks at home, is really important to kind of know what works best for you. I would probably say it's a 60-40 where I cook and then 40% where I eat out, to be honest. But walking around in Arlington is extremely beneficial because there are so many places that I can just pop on over and grab a sandwich, and it's really nice to have that balance in your life.
So next follow up on that is, what's your go-to place in Arlington that you like to eat? So when you're like,
Ooh,
I really, it's the place I know it's always going to be good. It's always going to hit the spot. What's that? And the second question is, what's your go-to meal that you cook?
ooh, oh my goodness, that's a good question. Um, I don't know if this is just in Arlington. I think there's a few in Reston actually. I like Nando's.
Mm.
That's a really good place. They have really good chicken, and have some healthier options too. And then what I like to cook, I definitely think I got an air fryer. So I'm a big air fryer person now, and air fried salmon is so easy. You just pop it in the air fryer and heat it up. So definitely playing with those recipes.
Nice. Yeah, I keep thinking about an air fryer. I bought an Instapot and I can't figure out
Oh, that's nice too.
doing two things. I don't know what else to cook in it. I'm only cooking like two things that I know so far. So I need to expand my horizons a little.
I like it because it's definitely, I feel that when I graduated, when I asked for things for like for your birthday or Christmas, it's definitely kitchen based now. I asked for that air fryer, and if you'd asked me back in school, it's like, oh, I just need more punches this week or something like that. So your priorities and what you value definitely sometimes shift in terms of gifts or what you interact with each day.
Right. No, I get that. Well, you've piqued my curiosity on the air fryer. I might have to look back into that again.
I definitely recommend it.
I also bought a blender the other day, like a little blender to use for a smoothie.
Oh, nice. Yes, I just got a NutriBullet too. So I do that every morning as well. Yeah, it's a lifesaver because it makes enough where you can drink out of it. As opposed to like your other larger blenders, you have to like get a separate glass. So
Yeah. And do you make all your own smoothie stuff, or do you buy like from a company or?
I make my own smoothie stuff. So keep a bag of frozen bananas in the fridge and just throw in almond milk and whatever other protein powders I have.
Nice. Yeah, I was told to try coconut milk, so I've been, or coconut water. So
Oh, coconut water. I haven't tried that.
yeah, so that was actually pretty good. I did that. I did Daily Harvest this week, so I don't know if you've heard of them.
I have it. Those look really cool too. And
Yeah, I bought
unfortunately, that doesn't fall within my budget.
the under. Yeah, well, I bought the 14 pack and then I canceled every other week.
Oh, okay.
One,
Smart.
yeah, because I couldn't imagine it's $100 a week. I,
Yep.
I can't imagine that. So I'm gonna buy it once, try it, and then if I like it, then I'll like get it every 4 weeks or something. But
That's
uh,
definitely something I would want to try if I had that room for a budget. Or like HelloFresh or Blue Apron. Those seem really cool, but just the prices are a little out of my budget.
no, understood. All right, so then I really only have two other questions. One of them I feel like you've kind of answered, but I want to give you a shot to pull it into one answer of what are the 3 to 5 biggest differences between JMU and living and working in the real world?
So I definitely think I touched on the schedule. Crafting your own schedule is something that's huge. I think the people you're surrounded with um, aren't exactly in the same situation that you're going through. I think when you're around people who are all students, you kind of have a lot of things to relate to in terms of what you're going through for studying or just kind of where to eat. Things are definitely a lot different post college where you can see, especially in Arlington, people of different age ranges, people of different occupations, just getting exposed to all this beautiful diversity to get to know others in a different way. And then I would say the third one would probably be, I think, the sleep. Getting a lot more sleep, I definitely think is something that post college that I get.
And what when you say a lot more sleep, like what would you say you're getting a night?
I would definitely say like 8 to 9 hours because I prioritize that because I'm able to do that now. And while I probably could have been able to do that in school, I definitely felt a lot more overwhelmed with tests, and I'm staying up late to study for that final. But it's definitely something that I've noticed.
Yeah, 8 to 9 hours is pretty magical when you can get it. So I'm glad that's working out.
Thank you.
All right, so last question. This is the big question here is
Okay.
your words of wisdom question. If you were going into your last semester of college right now, what would you tell yourself? What advice, personally, professionally, anything else? What would you tell yourself? So you're speaking to the the class of 2021 who are going to graduate here in 3 months,
Hmm.
what would you want to tell them about life after JMU?
I definitely think remaining your authentic self is something that I brought from JMU and I continue to live every day. And just remembering that you're not defined by your GPA, you're not defined by when you get a job or what job it is or how much money you're making. As long as you're staying true to yourself and understanding those values of what you want, things are going to be okay.
That's great. Allison, I appreciate the time. Is there anything else you want to share with the world before we finish, or do you feel like you've gotten it all out there?
Um, I I think it's great. I think one thing I would say is I really appreciate how much JMU has molded me into who I am today, and I wouldn't have the job that I currently have without them. And stay connected with JMU alumni because you'll never know what connections can bring you.
Amazing. Well, Allison, I appreciate your time. This is our most recent alumni rebound session. Thanks. Congratulations on all that's happened, and maybe we'll see you around Arlington.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.